Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's another Wednesday night, and that means it's time for you, the viewer, me, Ladyada, the engineer, and Mr. Ladyada.
You could set your clock tune almost.
Ding ding.
Almost.
On camera control and doing the behind-the-scenes chat and coupon code generation is we're all here at the Adafruit factory. This is where we do all designing, testing, manufacturing, kitting, videoing, coding, and more. Right now, the factory is silent because everyone's at home except for us. And that's because for the next hour, we're going to be doing Ask Engineer, your most favoritist 1 hour of live engineering chat, news, videos, demos, guides, products, coupon codes, top secrets, and more. Mr. Ladyada, let's kick it off. Tell them what's on tonight's show.
On tonight's show, the code is Rainbow Allen. Or Rambo Wallen. Either way, it works.
A Rainbow Allen.
Yeah. 10% in the Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, or when I remember to turn the code off, gets you 10% off all the things we have in stock. Talk about our Adafruit live shows, including the ones that you maybe just saw. Show and tell. Got a bunch of cool people on there. Time travel, look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, and engineers. We got some special retro tech this week. Special guest Jeff are going to show off something he's been working on. From the mailbag, your letters to us, some made in New York City factory footage, advanced manufacturing, and more. Some 3D printing. We have INMPI this week. It's TDK, brought to you by DigiKey. We've got new products, top secret. We're going to answer your questions. We do that over on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord, where you can join all 35,000 of us. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Bam.
Okay, so in addition to the Rainbow Allen,
yes,
you can get free stuff. What are they at?
We've got so many freebies. $99 or more, you get a PermaProto half-size breadboard, our classic freebie. People love this one because it's so useful for making your breadboard projects permanent. $149 or more, you get our favorite. We love all of our dev boards equally, but one of our favorite, pink PCB KB2040, an RP20 dev board with castellated pads, GPIO, lots of memory, STEMMA QT, and USB-C. $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. It's tracked, it's shipped, it's brown, it's UPS. And $299 or more, you get a free Circuit Playground Blue Fruit. It's an all-in-one dev board with LEDs and buttons and sensors, Bluetooth Low Energy. It's a great way to get started with Arduino or CircuitPython. There's a little bit of MakeCode support as well.
Okay, and don't forget we're still doing, the best possible job I think anyone can with how the online world works. So don't forget to verify your account, put two-step authentication on your account, which we offer at Adafruit. You can use just about anything to do two-factor authentication, from the hardware keys to authenticator apps.
To mobile phones to desktop applications.
And if you do that on every other website, because every single computer likes making copies of everything and sending it to everyone you know.
So they do best.
That's what we made computers for, and the genie is out of the bottle, as they say. So it's a good idea, and it's good computing hygiene. Adafruit Live series of shows. So we've got a bunch of live shows that we do every single week. We recently just did show and tell. Melissa was special guest. Thank you, Melissa. And you could see some of the projects that were on there. Gonna say it. Apparently, there was an amazing cube.
There's a cube. There's also a guide for the cube.
Yeah.
Talk about that shortly.
So apparently,
it is an adorable cube.
Apparently, that was on there, and do check it out.
People love a cube.
Next up. We do Desk of Ladyada every Sunday. It's usually at like hacker o'clock. We've been trying to do it a little earlier than like midnight, so folks can watch it, and we have been.
and I get rest.
So we have part 1 and part 2. What was part 1 this week?
Okay, so this week I did. We had a little bit of time this weekend, and so I finally dug into why the WCH. CH9102, which is the CP2104 replacement, didn't have flow control working in the Linux kernel. Turns out you can load an out-of-tree kernel module that fixes the broken driver. So I showed people how to use that. Also, I did a demo of the Bluefruit Easy Key for the new ESP32 version that I'm trying to revive this old product that was based on a CSR chipset. Ported it to the ESP32. So far, so good. I showed it working. I wirelessly uploaded code to an Arduino Uno using Bluetooth SPP. Very exciting.
Okay. And then we do the Great Search, where we all try to find parts on digikey.com together. And sometimes we're successful because there's a lot of things to find. And sometimes things aren't in stock, but now it's starting to let up a little bit.
It is. I'm actually noticing it's a little bit easier to find some parts. Not complicated parts, but some simple parts. Transistors and level shifters and diodes. I mean, like, I remember, like, I couldn't get, like, diodes for a bit, or, like, NPM transistors, and it was a little bit like, really, guys? Like...
Yeah, we're also seeing our inboxes filled with, I'm not going to say failed startups, but some are startups that didn't work out, and they're like, we bought all these parts, but we're going out of business. Will you buy these parts? And on one hand, it sounds interesting for some things. On the other hand, they want to charge way more than we could just buy them now. So
that's another thing.
We're passing.
I
on
know
a lot of
it's a
these.
little annoying. It's like there's some parts that and this is a distraction, but it's a little bit of a chip shortage. There's parts that we ordered, we get the parts, and then immediately we see that they're available everywhere for cheaper than we paid. But
it's okay.
We had booked. It's okay. Because we got stuff to back in 2021 or 2020.
Yeah.
And this is what the deal is. Anyways, but things are loosening up. Anyways,
I'd rather have that happen than sending rando emails saying, I have all these parts, can I sell them to you, because things didn't work out.
Yeah. So,
if you have to choose, I
Yeah.
guess. Not that you get a choice, but yeah. All right, so what did you try to find this week?
Okay, so this week, the Nina U-Blocks module that we use on the Itsy Bitsy airlift, like Bitsy Wing, is discontinued. And also, I wanted to, for the Bluefruit Easy Link, I designed it with the ESP32 Pico Mini, which is a wonderful little module, but has 8 megabytes of flash and 2 megabytes of PS RAM. And I thought, it's I don't need the PS RAM, I don't need that much flash, so maybe there's a smaller or less expensive module. And so I showed how to use the Espressif part selector to identify different sizes and models of ESP32 modules, and kind of talked about the different standard-ish sizes that they've got, which are a little bit confusing because there's the Pico, there's the Mini, there's the Room, there's the Rover, and there's the C3 Mini, which is the same size as the Pico Mini. Okay, anyways, we go through all that. I show them on DigiKey with the pricing, and I actually show that the ESP32 Mini is one of the cheapest ESP32 modules you can get, cheaper than the Room, from what I recall. So check that out.
Okay, and then we do JP's product pick of the week every Tuesday, and here's this week's highlight.
The tactile button assortment. You get 25 different kinds of buttons, 10 each. Nice little smorgasbord of the buttons here in a little parts tray. Also get the different colors on these, but these are, I think, a typical 6mm. This is one of these right angle ones that has some good support for the board. These I love. I'm crazy about these. I'm putting these on Jay's MIDI button board. These just have a really nice, it's a 12 by 12mm, but they have a really nice tall, I think 10mm button. The sounds of these switches, because they are good and clicky. A little contact microphone module. This guy right here, little tiny one. I'm going to use some tweezers to click this one, actually. Woo! The tactile switch assortment, 25 different kinds of buttons, 10 each.
And tomorrow, JP's workshop, Friday deep dive with Tim.
No, I'm back next week.
No, I'm Pedro back next week on 3D Hangouts. Time travel. All right, well, I'm going to do my AdaBox update, and the update is there is no update. We still are awaiting all of the parts and more that we need to ship thousands of AdaBoxes. So we have 4 that we try to do per year. This year has been incredibly difficult. So we may have an autumn one. We may have the winter one. We don't know. The second we know for sure, either way, we'll let everyone know. So our update is there is no update. I think what I'm going to do is add a link to this video on AdaBox and just let folks know we're here. We don't charge AdaBox until we ship it, so you don't have to worry about that. And we do have more people signing up for AdaBox all the time. So ideally, in an ideal world, the parts will come back in stock that we need, and then we can even add more folks to AdaBox.
Yes.
We can even ship more out. So that would be nice, but we shall see. Other things in the world of time travel. There's a Adafruit IO update. This is, as they say in the biz, a sleeper hit. So Adafruit IO is, as far as I know right now, the only free and plus IO system that works with all devices, has all the ways that you can use it in any way you want, and then we have a no-code version.
And it's real no code. Not like a fake no code where it's like you're still coding. I mean it. There's no coding. There's no ID, no IDE, no command line.
So the highlights this week is, and I'll show the blog post in a second, is a bunch of stuff from Whippersnapper. So servo motor control, Ladyada will talk about that. Servos are used in our IoT project, so you can see like some of the cool things. It's really neat to do a real-time thing and then watch a servo use. Integrates with IO actions. We have servo component that Lamar will talk about. And it works with the ESP32, the ESP8266, the S2, the C3, and the MB51.
S3, we found a bug, but we're going to fix it.
Yeah, and so here is kind of an overview with some, fun graphics and stuff. But you were working on this with the team. So what's the big deal, and how did they get servos working? Because this seems almost like magic.
It is a little bit magic, and it required actually a lot of back-end work, which is you can see it in the GitHub public repo where we work on the Arduino core library and code for Whippersnapper. But basically, we've had sensor inputs, which is great. So we've had a lot of sensors and LEDs and buttons and switches and analog inputs. And one of the things that we hadn't done is PWM and servo outputs, because they're actually kind of handled a little bit weird. Servos in particular, you need like a really steady timer and anyways, there's a lot of the details I will let go. But basically, you want to create a pulse between 500 microseconds and 2500 microseconds, and that corresponds to a servo moving. And servos are a really great way of adding motion or motorized control. There's continuous servos that spin continuously rather than having a position. So servos are great. They can push a button with a servo. You can flick a switch. You can point at something. So servos are a really easy way to add robotics, and you can put one per pin. So we now have servo support in Adafruit IO Whippersnapper. You can see it here. So basically, you write the value of the pulse. 500 is all the way to the left, 2500 all the way to the right, and that feed will get updated by Whippersnapper and control the servo on the pin. It'll work with any standard servo. You can tweak the min and max. Some want a little bit more or less than 500 to 2500. The default frequency is 50 hertz. If you happen to have a weirdo servo that wants higher frequency updates, that's adjustable as well. But this is really great for a lot of projects where you want to have something trigger a motion or a movement. A servo there are a lot of servos, different strengths and weights and sizes.
So controlling the position of a servo via an Internet of Things service that's free, or if you want to pay and you have more, stuff to do. We were asked to have a fee version because some folks want to do quite a bit of stuff on it, but we'll always have a free version.
Yeah, I think you get 10 feeds and 2 devices, which is quite a lot on the free version. It's just if you need more.
Most folks are free, but if you want to support it, you can always get a Plus account.
Yeah.
It's a good deal, like $10 a month. So I think this is the only IoT service that allows you to do this. I was looking around. I don't think you can control servos.
Look, we got through the you have analog.
Yeah. Oh, look, Blink.
Yeah.
I made something blank. It's that's cool, but this is also no code. But you can also look at how it's done and write a bunch of code if you want to.
Please try it out.
Anyways, try it out. Let us know and have fun with it. I think a lot of folks will be able to do really neat interactive art installations. You'll be able to do things like, well, we had a project where when something moves in one location, it moves in another location. So make your own entangled particles. Retro. So we have a little bit of retro this week. This was on the show and tell, but Jeff sent the video, so we're going to play it. Check it out.
Hey, Jepler, what have we got here?
Well, this is my friend's Kim 1, which we have just gotten running today. And so we've already put in a program in hexadecimal to add two numbers together. So let's see, we are going to set the numbers to add, though. So we're going to go to address 0 and enter some data. And why not add 37 and 12. And then this is the first byte of our program at address 2, and so I will hit go. And with any luck, those numbers that I said add together to 49 in hexadecimal. And that is a real program running on a real original Kim 1.
Letters. We get letters. We get tweets and we get emails. Your comments.
Okay, letters, we get your letters. This, I wasn't sure if we read this one because it was on Ask an Engineer and then we heard back from the person. So if this is a repeat, sorry, but it's worth it. During Ask an Engineer, I asked a question about the vinyl record shipping to Florida during the middle of summer. Happy to report Adafruit's album Frequency survived the Florida summer torture test. Record came in mint condition, not a single bend. On the cover, plastic wrap nice and tight. I am impressed. Big hug to everyone at Adafruit for helping make records turn things into reality. So, yeah. We have an album. We still have a lot of these.
If you're in California in a heat wave and you want to listen to
Yeah.
some tunes while you're
it is
setting on fire,
weather tested.
It's okay.
So yeah. All right. It's now time for some Python on hardware. All right. This week we have CircuitPython 7.3.3. It is released. Minor changes. Please check it out. Working on 8 now, beta, alpha, right?
We're working on 8 alpha beta. Working on 8 beta, which is a lot of Wi-Fi stuff, but as we find bugs, we still backport them to the stable 7XX series, which is what's going on here.
So if you want to check out the latest, it is now, I guess, as stable as 7s are going to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are a lot of bug fixes and tweaks and updates, and keep sending those in.
Okay, I'm going to show a video in a sec. But some neat stuff if you want to do some e-ink with CircuitPython. This is really neat. These are some really cool map things that you can do, GPS mapping application for LCD displays. And our editor has a note. Everything is kind of back to school time. If you're doing projects in schools and you use Python or CircuitPython, just tag us on social media, CircuitPython, MicroPython, Python. We'll get in a newsletter. Back to school means coding in Python for a lot of folks. It seems to be the unofficial national language in many school districts. And internationally, it is a national language or programming language. So I think we're going to see even more Python this year. Highlights from some live things that we have in the newsletter from the CircuitPython show. So if you want to see an interview with Radomir, check that out. And then just tons and tons of projects. So if you want to see Game of Life, little keyboards.
Oh, it's so cute.
MIDI keyboards. Here's some digit recognition with CircuitPython, Raspberry Pi Pico. Here is a Amiga 600 keyboard USB adapter with the Raspberry Pi Pico and CircuitPython. It just goes on and on and on. There is a build for the ESP32 S2 N1 6R8. There's a PyClone using.
Ooh, it's a nice PyClone.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
If you want to have a pet help, yeah.
Because this old dog is like the electronics way more than
It's not
the
just
dog.
cats. Yeah. So lots going on, but by popular request, we have part 2 of the Raspberry Pi Pico W and CircuitPython. So I'm going to play that now.
Ada, what is this?
This is a Raspberry Pi Pico W, also known as the Pi Cow. And what it's got running on it is CircuitPython, and behind it, see this code here? Printing on a MAC address, scanning for Wi-Fi networks, connecting to an access point. Let's see if this works. Man, that was pretty fast. So this can actually, in CircuitPython now, scan for access points in the area. That's working really well, and it can connect and get an IP address. So next up, of course, we want to add sockets and DNS and routes and all that good stuff to get Wi-Fi working on the Raspberry Pi Pico W with CircuitPython. That'll make it really easy for people to make their own IoT projects using all the great drivers available in CircuitPython.
Delivered to your inbox every single week. Just go to adafruitdaily.com and sign up there. It's completely separate from your store account. It has nothing to do with anything with your store.
Totally new.
That's right.
Like a fresh world.
Yeah. That's interesting. It decided to change the background color pink on that side.
Well, yes.
That's cool.
good.
Yeah.
More pink.
Yeah. I think it changed the background color on something. That'll be interesting.
That's interesting
to see.
because it's not previewing with that color.
Yeah,
That's
I wonder.
cool.
I wonder. Oh, look at this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's all
gonna,
pink.
There's going to be a lot of pink stuff tonight.
Okay, cool.
So that's cool. All right. That's Python on hardware. I'll have to fix that later.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. We are an open source hardware company. To prove it, we have 2,725 guides. Ladyada, what's on the big board this week?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. First off, most important, you want to share nudes, you want to make nudes, we got a nudes guide. The Nudes Uber guide from Phil B is all about how to use our LED flexible noodles, which we nickname nudes, how to power them, how to flex them, limitations, tips and tricks. We'll be updating this guide as well, but Phil B is just like, the master of cosplaying and LED art, and so this is a really great getting started guide. I've also updated the ESP Whole Ad Blocker guide. That's from JP. We've added a page on how to use it with Android phones because we realize that some people have Android phones. We've also got a fun guide with key presses, the 808 style step switches, and a Raspberry Pi Pico, just showing how to solder them all onto a perf board and make like PWM LEDs and tactile switches, and to make a little mini keyboard with LED feedback. They're very tactile switches.
Okay.
And then kick me to the next.
Yeah, we have more guides.
There's tons of guides, including everybody's favorite. Well, there's actually a lot of really good guides this week.
Yeah.
We've got cosplay hacks from Phil B. So this is like an amazing guide. There is 100 tips for cosplay, and it's a lot about sewing and hygiene and design and elements of cosplay and costuming and sewing. There's also some tips on integrating electronics and LEDs. So check out the cosplay hacks. I learned a lot. Like, for example, did you know that Spit will auto set crazy glue? Or it's like there's a lot of weird stuff in there. Anyways, check it out. You'll learn something, no question. A lot of people have already told us it's a great guide. We also got a quick start for the CircuitPython web workflow. Code editor, Melissa has been writing this, so there's a built-in uploader, downloader, and simple REPL on CircuitPython web Wi-Fi workflow boards. But if you want to use the more advanced web editor, you can upload directories and do a lot more editing, and it has a really nice code editor, which you can see even has highlighting. Please try it out. It's very new. It's great for use with ESP32 boards, but any of the boards with Wi-Fi workflow enabled will be able to use the web workflow. We've also got a guide from Liz Clark on the new Max 17048 LiPoly or lithium-ion fuel gauge and battery monitor. It's a really easy, low-power way to add percentage, voltage, and charge rate of charge change monitoring to your devices. And we've got Arduino and CircuitPython libraries. And everyone cheers and loves this new teeny LED Wi-Fi companion cube It is so adorable. Do not eat. You can display all sorts of animations on it, and it also uses Adafruit IO to display text and icons and graphics, and it's pretty amazing how adorable it is. It's got a little battery and a cutie pie inside and a battery monitor, and it's just like, oh, it's like a little manager. It's so cute. So check it out. It was also in the show and tell if you want to see some live video
That's right.
of Charlene demoing this most adorable LED companion cube.
Okay, here's some factory footage. And this week for Speed Up, we have some assembly and testing and more. Okay, 3D printing. NumPager are off this week, but we have a speed up, and we didn't play the video from the project that Liz did last week. So I was going to play it and then
Is
the
3D
speed up.
printing involved?
There is 3D printing involved. So I'm going to play that, and then the speed up. I think is from more Sandman. So I think that's a popular show that's on right now. So
Who
usually-
doesn't? Look, we're all gothed out.
Yeah, trying.
In this project, you'll set up a 3D object in Unity, the popular game dev engine, and send 9DOF accelerometer data over a serial connection to rotate the object. The 9DOF sensor is connected to a dev board running Arduino code. The 9DOF sensor can be calibrated, and that calibration can be stored on the dev board for more accurate readings. In Unity, a C# script is applied to the 3D object to parse the incoming serial data into rotational movement. The sensor and dev board can be mounted in a 3D printed cube to keep them steady while you rotate them. This demo could be adapted for other sensors to communicate with Unity too. You could also build custom controllers for your games to create unique interactive experiences. The code, along with step-by-step instructions, are available now in the Learn Guide at learn.adafruit.com.
And like we said before, 3D Hangouts will be back next week. Currently, Data. It's time to do a reminder. Rainbow Allen's the code, 10% off the Adafruit store. It'll all make sense why it's the code soon, but for now, let's do some IO and MPI. Okay, this week's new product introduction of the week is from TDK. This is brought to you by DigiKey. Thanks, DigiKey.
Yay.
What is the MPI of the week?
Okay, this week's MPI, I want to get the part number right, so I'm reading it off the DigiKey bag. It's the TDK WCT38466. It's a patterned coil for wireless power transmission also known as Qi charging. And this is a popular way to do wireless charging, and you need to basically have a chip and an antenna, and the chips are easy to get, but the antennas have had improvements in design, and so that's what we're talking about this week, because TDK has been making these antennas for a while. So this is the WCT38466. As you can tell, it's got like this loop, these loops of copper that form the antenna coil, that one half of the inductive charging coil, and it's nice and thin and very flat and funky. So it's basically like a custom designed. It comes all ready to go, and I'll show it on the overhead at the end of this. Basically designed to work with anything with Qi charging, and you just wire it up to the battery, the Qi management charger chip, which usually is of course separate than the antenna, and it kind of does everything for you, and you just slip this into the design, the back of your design, to add wireless charging. So the thing that's cool about this is it's super, super skinny. So traditionally, these charger coils were super chunky, a couple millimeters thick. I think the previous version was like 3 millimeters. They're now under 1 millimeter. Ooh, amazing. So skinny, which means it's even easier than ever to add it into an existing or upcoming design. So what's really nice is that, over the last few years starting in like about 10 years ago, there were a lot of different wireless charging standards. I like Duracell had one, but the one that's kind of won out, thankfully, there is a standard now, is this QI Qi charging standard, which is what's used in almost like every phone these days. I believe even Apple phones use the standard, and that's really good because it means that you have to have the charger matching with the charger base. And traditionally, if you wanted to use wireless charging in your device, you'd have to have the two coils. So let me go to the next page. We have two coils. You have a custom charger, and we sell these in the store. You have a custom transmitter, a custom receiver, and when they inter-align, the magnetic fields cross-couple, and you get power transmission from one to the other. Basically, it's a transformer with an air core in the center, and the air core is like the universe. But the problem is that they're not very smart. This has no control over what the voltage is going to be or how much current. Whereas the Qi charging standard, there's some communication, so it knows that it's the right kind of charger, and it's not going to just turn on the power. And if you happen to have a 12 volt output coil, it's not going to blast your electronics. So that's really nice. And they of course come in 5 watts, and I think 15 watts is the next generation. The problem is that if you wanted to add wireless charging, traditionally, on toothbrushes and other devices, you would have to manufacture both the transmission and the receiving side, using something like this. Whereas what's nice with having a standard is you can get off-the-shelf charging plates, and then you put your device on the charging plate, and you don't have to worry about that part. You can just worry about the device you're using. So this is what the original Qi charging antenna looked like. So there was 3 antennas, and they were all they would work together. So no matter how you arranged the board on the charging plate, it would work. And I think this is the what TDK was talking about. This used to be 3 millimeters thick. This massive coil, and you see it's protected with a fabric, so it doesn't, with vibration, it doesn't short out, which of course would be bad and cause the wireless to stop working. So instead of this tri-coil design, we now have a single pattern design, much thinner, much more flexible, but and actually at least as good or better patterning for where the device is on the plate, so it'll maintain charging. Because you're not, when you want to have something like a toothbrush, it fits into a holder, and the holder is designed with a little nub, and so it fits perfectly. With a phone, people sort of slap it down on the charger. You don't want to make sure that it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned to still get a very good charge rate, because that's the experience that users want to have. So now there's also a much more even efficiency. There aren't any cold spots. Everything is kind of got this 80% plus efficiency, which is really great for wireless charging. And all you have to do is you have to match this with, again, a charging chip, which I just looked and I found like this one in particular. I'm not recommending this one in specific, but it's just this is what they look like. And this plugs into the rest of your power management circuitry, connects to the TX coil pads, and then like it'll give you an interrupt and tell you like, hey, power's coming in. This is how much power it can provide, and you can use it to charge your internal battery. It was interesting. You just got to watch from like a Kickstarter, and they don't even have a USB port on it anymore. It basically uses only Bluetooth Low Energy, and then you charge it with wireless charging. So this is kind of the future, because the moment you have a charging, if you're using Bluetooth Low Energy for data, a USB port, all they do is like break or get dust in them, or they can crack. It's a major failure point, even with USB-C, which has 10,000 or whatever insertion cycles. They can just break, or they can get damaged, and then the whole thing stops working. Whereas with this wireless charging capability, there's less mechanical risk, and you can have the whole thing be weatherproof or ruggedized. If you want like a matching transmission, of course, like I said, you can use an off-the-shelf charger. We also have this charging, plate element that you can integrate. You just give a USB-C, and it will automatically work with any Qi charging plate. So here's a demo of it charging some Android phone quite nicely. And
available on DigiKey.
It's in stock.
It is in stock. There's 187.
Yes, and I wanted to we'll show a video, but I can also show it off. It's just interesting, especially you're getting your watch that doesn't even have a USB port really reminded me that this is kind of the future. Everything's just going to have this integrated in. So this is the pattern coil, so it's protected. It's weatherproofed with this nice rubbery coating, but you can see the patterning. There's a mounting hole in the center to make sure it's centered, and then on the back is this adhesive that's protected. And then this one comes with the little header, like a plain header, but of course you can remove the header, solder this directly to your PCB, and it's, instant wireless charging with a standard that you can get off the shelf charging plates.
All right, we're going to play the video. But I did want to mention something, because someone said in one of the chats, did anyone see the Apple event today? Because they have, AirPods and iPhones.
They love wireless charging too.
And watches. So there is a big world out there, and we can all watch these keynotes and all these things, and we can figure out what we want to buy. But then some of us like to build stuff, and the next thing that people will be wearing or doing 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now is going to be thought up and worked on by someone who's doing electronics maybe early on in their career now, or maybe it's something that they're going to work on later. So you get to see a little glimpse of the future every single week on NPI. It's the new products that are available, and a lot of these things are what's going to be in everything later. So let's watch a video, and that'll be this week's Eye on NPI.
On NPI.
Okay, so I'm gonna do one question that goes along
Yes.
with this one, and then I'm gonna ask you a serious question.
Okay.
Serious question. Okay. Do wireless chargers affect the wireless LEDs in any way? If you had these little
I
wireless
think
LEDs?
they don't. I think she actually does a communications before they transmit power.
So you can't just put the...
You can't. I don't believe you can just put the LEDs on there. I used to have a
Interesting to
charging
see.
plate. Yeah, but it's the whole point is that it's a little smarter than just like two coils that are like coaxial.
All right, so here's my serious question. This is one of the things. So,
Oh, no, serious.
yeah, so when you look at how people can be energy efficient, or sometimes what we're told is
Yeah.
earth friendly, you know, a lot of times we're told stuff because, you know, like giant fossil fuel companies make us feel bad that we don't.
Yeah.
They run an advertising campaign that says, like, you should have a green straw. You're if you don't have a green straw,
Yeah.
if you have a paper straw, you're destroying the planet. So we all feel bad. But meanwhile, you know, there's other big contributors.
Yeah.
So is it more efficient to use wireless charging or a wire? And before you answer, there's a lot of things, because there's never an easy answer, because, like, what if the wire breaks? Now you got to buy a new wire, and now it's
The number one thing is it's the amount of power being used to charge your devices is almost nothing.
yeah. So it doesn't matter.
What takes energy is the manufacturing of the good. Almost all of the cost of something is the energy it takes to manufacture it. So if you're, you know, the amount of like if you do the math for like how much it costs to charge your phone,
Yeah.
it's like $1.50 a year. There's almost no energy because the transformer, the converter for powering, whether it's wireless or wired, is extremely efficient. So basically, if using wireless charging means you will use your phone longer
Yeah.
and not purchase a new phone,
Or
then-
or a different charger, because
or a
everyone has a different
charger,
standard.
that is whatever saves you the most money is almost, I mean, not universally, but in general,
Yeah.
what keeps you from getting new phones, throwing stuff out, because almost that stuff's not
Yeah.
repairable, is more likely to will use more energy.
So it comes down to the manufacturing of the thing. So with
the energy in the manufacturing of the good is lifetime overwhelming.
So if you have
The
a wireless
energy to charge
charger
it.
for a phone, that's great, because maybe you can always use that forever because it's a standard,
If you're
and you
gonna,
won't have to buy a different one over
if
and
you
over and
use
over.
it for longer, then yes. If you end up saying like I really like this, I'm gonna or
Yeah.
my connector doesn't, my USB didn't break, this
Okay.
required me to buy a new phone.
Yeah.
That saves energy.
Because it's, you know, a lot of these things are counterintuitive when you think about it. Like using a microwave for food, it's very efficient, but
Yeah.
not a lot of people like microwaves. It doesn't seem like a green thing. It'd be like, oh, we should like have a campfire. It's like, nope. You know?
It's very counterintuitive, but basically whatever costs less money, usually, not always,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
tends to be.
Anyways.
And you have to remember, like, to charge a device is literally like pennies. The amount of energy that you're using to charge devices is very, very, very little.
Okay. I was just, because I've been looking at all these little charts, and
Yeah.
a lot of the ways that people are getting told to save the planet, they're not going to have an impact. And there's some things that people can do, but they're not getting told that. So anyways,
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Basically, don't keep things out of the landfill, not because of the landfill itself, but because manufacturing a thing to replace the thing you threw out, it takes much more
Yeah.
energy.
Well, thanks goodness we're not forced to buy new phones every year. Oh, wait, we are. Okay, let's do some new products. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. All right, I just have some breaking news. The wireless LEDs work with some toothbrush stands.
Good.
That's cool.
That's important.
Okay, anyways, what's up first?
Okay, first up, we've got a perf board, and this is a weird perf board. This is by request. This is a 2mm pitch perf board. It is not 0.1 inch pitch. It will not work with microcontrollers or dip chips unless you happen to have Cold War Russian 2mm pitch dips, which is, if you do, that's really cool. They're very rare. But this is useful for modules like XBs, and like once in a while there's other Wi-Fi modules or dev boards that use 2mm pitch, and you're like, I want to prototype with them. This dev board will do it. If you need 0.1 inch pitch, do not buy this. We have ones in 0.1 inch pitch, but these are, again, 2mm pitch.
Okay, next up.
Okay, next up we've got from Pimoroni a Pico LiPo charger add-on for the Raspberry Pi Pico, which adds a LiPo battery and charging circuits. You can charge it through the micro USB on the Pico once this is soldered on. And there's a cute on-off switch. And I had a little demo I thought I would show.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, let me just show how this is
Okay.
together.
Show a demo.
Okay, so this is the Pico shim. So again, it goes on the back of the board.
That's clever.
And in this case, we soldered it through, but you can also solder it like directly on. And then, just 1 second, let me grab my micro USB, which fell on the ground. Just not correct.
Yeah, gravity is still working here.
I know, it
In
is.
case anyone's wondering.
You charge it, it turns red, and then that turns off. And then there's this cute push button switch with like an SR latch, and you push it to turn on the circuit. And when you see the white LED, it's on. So it's
That's cool.
just an adorable little way to,
Beep.
you can still plug this into whatever.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you want a little extension cable, little extension headers. But you can also, you can turn it on and off, charge the battery. Great. I think this will work especially good with the Pico W, so you can make wireless projects.
Rainbow Allens.
Rainbow Allens.
Yeah.
You were asking about these. You really liked these
Yep.
rainbow. What's ironic is apparently Adam Savage also highlighted a similar
Great
set.
minds think alike.
Just coincidence. We ordered
Yeah.
these many
It's
months
really
ago.
good validation. It's when you know someone and you see that they're going to listen to a band or a concert that you like to, and you're like,
Yeah,
that's cool.
that's cool.
So we were testing these, and then we wanted to make sure they would work out great, and we do a lot of stuff before we put it in the store.
Yes.
And then
These are actually really nice Allen wrenches.
yeah, these are great. You should get these.
And they're rainbowy. They're beautiful. And they come with a little like handle if you want to get a little bit more torque
Yep.
on them. They're metric, but honestly, we kind of use these for everything, and they
Yeah,
work
it'll work.
wonderfully. They've got a shiny chrome finish.
Yep.
Who doesn't love that? And of course, they are super rainbowy.
Yep. Next up.
Okay, next up. Okay, this is an interesting, weird thing. So I actually got this for my laptop, and then because I have a Mac laptop that you gave me,
Yeah.
and it's one of the modern M1 ones, and so it has a USB-C port. It doesn't have a mag jack, and if people know me, I'm clumsy. Things fall, things break, whatever. That's why I learned to be an engineer, to fix all the stuff I broke. So what's neat about this is, I'll show this also on the overhead. It's a USB-C right angle adapter that's also like a mag jack type, MagSafe adapter type thingy.
Yeah.
The end comes off. So this, you plug this into your device, and then it
Yeah.
magnetically flies on, and of course it's USB-C. So
Also
it goes
good for
either
little dev
way.
boards and stuff like that. You can do a lot of things. Anything with USB-C. Speaking of,
So,
USB-C.
for example, and what I like is it also has a little indicator to let you know it's charging. If you wanted to, of course, you don't have to use it with. I use it with a laptop, but of course you can use it
Yeah.
with your dev board, and then you can easily connect it, disconnect it,
Yeah.
to turn on and off your electronics. So you can see it turn
Yep.
it on, and then, bam, disconnect it. So this is all this does is turn a USB into a right angle with a little magnetic jack. It doesn't have any smarts in it. It has a LED, and it can do 120 watts. So it works well for laptops. That's what I got it for. But you can use it with dev boards as well.
okay. Next up.
Okay, speaking of power, this is also by request. We have a panel mount 2.1 millimeter, 5.5 millimeter jack. It uses the panel mount system that I really like. It's just a round 1-inch hole. It means it's very easy to drill or cut into any material, because it's like some panel mounts require rectangular or round or oval holes, and it's like who has time for that? Round is best. So go to the overhead. I can show this real quickly.
By the way, folks were saying that these magnetic things are great for the USB-C soldering irons.
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great.
'cause
Yeah, these are
it's a
just
really
like
good idea.
really handy.
Yeah.
Okay, so this again, you just cut a hole. Like in this case, we have if you can cut in these little notches, it just means it'll be less likely to rotate a little bit. I think if you line it up perfectly, because there is a little bit of a grooving to it. But basically, you cut a hole, and then what's nice is this lip is 30 millimeters, and this round part is like 23. So it covers up any rough edges on the cutouts. So I remember like I was making a like an arcade machine, and it's like if you cut the holes and then there's a little bit of a lip to it, it makes for a very
Super
nice
Pro.
look. Super Pro, and then it's just an extension cord. It doesn't do anything special. It's just 5.5 outer diameter, 2.1 millimeter inner diameter. So standard DC jack.
Okay. Next up, we've got more cables.
Similarly to that right angle jack, I'm kind of like, the magnetic cables have gotten better. They now do power and data, and they're kind of advanced. So this is a cable that it's both USB Type A and Type C. You can you can cut this thing off, or you can keep it on to make it one or the other. And on the other end is also a magnetic tip, which you can see on the next image, and also here.
Yeah.
So like that right angle adapter, this is a cable where this end plugs into your computer. You have Windows or PC, use the Type A. You have Type C Mac, Type C, whatever, either one. And then on the end here, the magnetic tip comes off, so it makes it easy for you to have this power your dev board. And then here, I'll even plug this in. Why not? I think this extension cord is working. There you go. There's a little indicator light, and then, let's see. So turn this on, so this is lit, and then I'm done with this dev board, or I want to disconnect it without having to unplug, or I want it to just have a safety release so that the USB-C doesn't get yanked off the board. Just release it and replace it. And of course, it's USB-C, so you can put it upside down. So a very nice, just magnetic cable. It's kind of your standard USB-C cable, but it's got a magnetic tip.
Except,
and we also have just the tips. So if you're like, okay, I want to have different boards with USB-C, and I want to have one cable, and then I can connect from one to the other, we have just the magnetic tip part.
okay, and started the show tonight, besides you, Ladyada, our team, our community, our customers, all the folks who make this thing go, is
The TCA 8418 breakout board, which I'm really excited about because we started this design in 2020, and the chip was completely unavailable, and then it became available. So we are able to, finally stock this really interesting GPIO expander and keypad matrix driver. So it is an 18 GPIO expander if you want to just have like 18 inputs, outputs, with pull-ups, and interrupt output, then you can do that. But what's interesting about this chip is it also does keypad scanning. So it has 10 columns, 8 rows, so it can do up to 180 keys. And here I'm just demoing it with a simple 3x4 matrix keypad. And it has a 10 element event queue, so it can actually, you don't have to pull it constantly. If there's key presses, it'll record the key matrix presses and releases for you, and then whenever you get around to asking over I2C, hey, what key presses did you get? It'll emit those key codes and whether they were pressed or released. And then you can use it with Arduino or CircuitPython. We have drivers for both, so you can use it with any microcontroller. And then another interesting thing about this chip is it also has Linux kernel support. And so if you happen to be interested in making a up to 80 key keyboard for a single board computer, this driver chip, you can load it with into the kernel using a device tree overlay. You can set up the key map, and then you can use it as a native keyboard built into the kernel, which I think is kind of cool. I'm going to try that out. So here's the demo. I'll just show them the overhead real fast. If I can plug it in. I should have gotten this hooked up to my magnetic thing. So here are the columns. So there's columns 0 through 9, and then the rows are down here. There's 2 up here, row 0, 1, and then through R7. Note that you cannot change the row and column assignment. You can't make a column into a row. There's 10 columns, 8 rows. That's it. And then, I just happen to have a keypad. I thought it would be easy to wire this up. I just wrote a little example that maps the key numbers to digits and displays them. And there's also a debouncer built in. And of course you can mix and match. You can have some GPIO and some keypad matrices. Just again, rows and columns are fixed. You can't change whether a pin is a row or column. Whatever it's labeled as, is what it is. But it's a really nice little chip, and does something that I haven't seen a lot of other, no GPIO expander that I know of other than like the HT16K33 does keypads, and even that doesn't have a nice event queue like this one does.
And that's new products. Okay, well, now you know why the code was because of this, and you can buy those and get 10% off. I got some questions lined up. You can post them again or new ones in our Discord.
Yes.
And while we're looking at the questions coming in, we're going to do some top secret from the vault.
Let's see what's there.
Yeah, we're working on some easy link stuff, so take it away, us.
All right, Ladyada, what is this?
This is the de-zombification of the EZ-Link Bluefruit. Originally, I did this with the CSR chipset. Now we're trying to rebuild this board with an ESP32, which has Bluetooth Classic support. I have it wired up here to an Arduino Uno. The DTR line is connected to a capacitor. You can see data being transmitted. Blue means it's connected to Bluetooth. And I just uploaded a NeoPixel sketch. So what's interesting about this code is it does the baud rate selection correctly. So whatever baud rate you open up the COM port over here on the computer at, it does that, and also it passes through the DTR, DSR, RTS, and CTS lines. So it's actually kind of like a transparent serial port over Bluetooth Classic. So far it's working pretty well, so I'm excited to get this design wrapped up and into the Adafruit shop.
And that's top secret. Okay, we're going to roll right into questions. Running late, Ada. Got some lined up. Here we go.
Okay.
I need to get long-term 7-ish hours timing with millisecond precision in CircuitPython. Is time.monotonic NS going to be sufficient with, say, an RP2040?
There is nothing that's going to get you 7-ish hour timing with millisecond precision. That's just not, even Arduino, I wouldn't necessarily trust it.
What would you try?
There's going to be some drift. It's really hard, actually. Millisecond precision is, I mean, that's like parts per million. It's a lot. You'll have to figure out what the ppm is for that. Because remember, 1 millisecond is 1/1000th, and then you multiply it by the second hour, whatever. Figure out that precision. I don't know of anything offhand that can give you that kind of accuracy. Again, even Arduino crystals are I think like 20 or 25 ppm. I don't know if they're good enough for what you need. Yeah, this is where atomic clocks come in. And even most RTCs, they're not. They have little drift, but they're still not going to get millisecond precision. So basically, it's very hard. You might want to talk to a physicist.
Okay. I think I can answer this one.
Yeah.
Is there an easy way to keep track of specific changes in addition to the Adafruit learning guides, like track changes feature? So for the code, you can check on GitHub. For any updates, it'll say last updated, and then any assets will say that. But we have typos and stuff like that, so we don't have like the ongoing forever log of like, oh, we forgot an apostrophe.
Yeah, we tend to only bump it to the top of the updated new product guides when there's like a new page. Or like a very serious change. Yeah. We do have records of everything that's changed, but we don't have a feed.
But for code stuff, you can look at GitHub.
Of course, yes. In the code, you can subscribe to the Adafruit GitHub repo, and you can see the nitty gritty every day.
Okay. Datasheet question from before from Marcos. Going to send that to the team. Thank you for that. Can CircuitPython be used for real-time sensing applications?
It depends on how real-time you mean. If you mean millisecond per 7 hours, then no. But if you mean just like, hey, I want to, control something like a servo, a motor, and I want to have it happen at a regular rate, maybe. It depends again on your accuracy that you need. There's things like PIO in the Raspberry Pi that can give you really good real-time timing. But often we recommend just using a peripheral or like a coprocessor chip or coprocessor helper that's really good at the specific thing that you need to have done. So if you're like generating PWMs or something, use a PWM generator that'll you can control over I2C or SPI. So it kind of depends on the kind of timing and sensing that you need.
Okay. what was the main takeaway for wireless charging? Is better because it will last longer than a cable? Yeah, I mean,
It's basically convenience, and yes,
whatever you're not manufacturing.
Basically, first off, sometimes you really want to make your device weatherproof, like very ruggedized. And for it to be ruggedized, it needs to be like IP rated. And to be IP rated, you can't really have just like a massive port that you can plug in. I mean, you can get weatherproof USB-C connectors, or Apple uses Lightning, but you might be better off with using wireless charging. And that's why the wireless charging toothbrushes are such one of the first killer apps for wireless charging. Is bathrooms and toothbrushes are just constantly covered with spit and water and toothpaste and gunk, and they're being put under the water. Yes, they could have had a port, but the port would have just gotten clogged and rusty. And so having wireless charging is a great use case for that. Similarly with phones, like one of the things that really has always broken on phones first is the USB cable, because people don't realize it's plugged in. They yank on it, and then you get that strain, which just like wrenches the connector off of the PCB. Same thing with headphones, which is why wireless headphones are also a really good idea in some cases. So it's mostly an issue of reducing your like outside environmental ingresses, and also it's convenience. If you have something like a watch or a phone, people are going to be less annoyed with low battery life if they can just put it down on their bedroom nightstand, and it automatically charges overnight. Whereas if they have to remember to plug it in, that's just like one more thing they have to remember.
Yeah. So just here as a prediction, future is going to be wireless charging for a lot of things. And then much like when you order food and you click a thing that says do or do not include utensils, when we order electronics or we buy things, you'll probably not get a USB-C cable with stuff. Or you'll have to click include utensils, include USB-C cable, because everyone gets a cable over and over and over again, and that's a huge amount of waste that a lot of people don't need a cable.
Yeah.
Might save some cost on devices too, if you say I don't want a cable. Anyways, next up, for the 120 watt charger, is it 25 watts or 6 amps? And then folks were answering in the chat.
I think it's probably 20 volts, 5 amp. I'll tell you, here's the thing. I actually don't remember. When I got it, of course, I plugged into the USB-C thing. And I use it with my my MacBook Air, and it works wonderfully with that. And it charges at a proper rate. I'd say it's probably 20 volt, 5 amps. I think the rating, basically, it doesn't have eMark in it, in case you're wondering. Because if it did, it would cost more, and I would know. But it doesn't say that. So I'm assuming it doesn't have eMark in it. It does do PD, because otherwise my laptop wouldn't charge. And I think the rating is mostly on the cable, like the connector quality and length. Again, it doesn't have any internal circuitry in it. It just passes the wires through. There's no internal circuitry at all for that adapter.
We'll speed around these to get you out of here, because
Yeah.
we're going to bounce soon. Do they make USB Mini B magnetic ends?
They don't. We're going to have Lightning and Micro B, but I couldn't find Mini B. Sorry, Mini B just kind of didn't make it to the next generation. It got left on the left on the last boat.
Everyone's liking the idea of like, don't send utensils, don't send USB-C cable. Like,
I think so too.
Yeah. I think instead of being like shamed about straws, like this is actually something that could, manufacturers could do. Anyways,
especially the USB cables are always like, they're not that great, and they're like one directional.
Are there any guides on make my own board by scaling back CircuitPython to only the sensors I need for my project? I never made a board before, but considering turning my dream project into a product, would it be advisable just to use CircuitPython as a brain? Oh, sorry, maybe that's Playground as brain, since it's already so affordable considering a super small run of 20-ish. Is this a disrespectful idea since it's development board, it's not for education? I'm learning to code using CircuitPython myself. So I think they're combining Circuit Playground and CircuitPython. Our boards are open source. If you want to make a remix of a board,
you can totally take it and pull out anything you don't want.
It's not disrespectful. It fulfills the destiny of what we're trying to do.
However, I will warn you, it's hard to get some of those parts, which is why we're out of stock right now. So if you're able to get those components, you have to basically, yes, you can take the design and just yank off whatever you don't want and hand make them or
Please
get them
do that.
manufactured. Or you can change it, and people have, like, they'll swap out different sensors. That's totally cool, too.
Ideally, you'd publish your design so someone can learn off that, and we can continue this thing going. Little bummed, personally, that there seems to be a retraction of the idea of publishing open source hardware for things that people actually want.
Yeah.
We're the number one open source hardware certified company according to OSHWA, because we have the most certifications, and we'll always continue to do that. But it is a little bit of a drag that we're seeing. Some of the open source hardware companies are just basically like, nope, we're gonna like do like super advanced pro now. You don't need this anymore. We're not going to publish our files anymore.
That's okay.
A little bit of a bummer.
I'm gonna publish more.
We're just going
going
to keep doing what we're doing, but that's fine. Next up, how did chip component manufacturers pick those crazy parts names that they use?
I do not know. It is a little bit of a question. You know, it's like once in a while you see articles about how like drug manufacturers, you know, pick the names for their drugs, like, you know, Vyvanse or whatever. I have no idea how they.
At least they're combining two things that try to, you know, like Vivantum. It's like, okay, it's for.
You can kind of see sometimes, you know, usually there's a lot of X's and Z's and Y's and V's, and they try to make it kind of sound like the thing. But
Lumagel.
I do not know. I mean, like this is the, you know, the WCT 38466. You know, I'm assuming there's some internal coding.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Look, Adafruit product numbers are just monotonically increasing. So product number 4000 is the one before 4001, and that's it.
Okay. Is there a simple way to identify one wire DVS2 devices? I was like, line break there. Yeah. Devices to serial numbers and installation with multiple one-wire devices on the same bus.
Sucks, huh? Yeah. There's no real easy way to do it. You just have to plug in one at a time. Do a scan to identify the MAC address or the identifier, and then like put some sort of piece of tape with that number on it.
Yeah. Are we gonna resurrect EasyKey? Yeah, maybe one day.
Well,
Will CircuitPython be able to drive e-ink displays using the RP2040W one day?
It can do it now. It just can't use Wi-Fi at the same time. Like RP2040 definitely supports e-ink. It just doesn't do both.
Are we going to make a screwdriver? No, but I've seen a lot of the electronic ones.
Why? When we have Rainbow Allens.
Yeah.
Have you seen my
amazing? Speaking of.
I will say that I got the sample of this during Pride Month. That's how long it takes to get something into the shop. It's like so rainbowy.
And that does it for questions. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget, the code is Rainbow Allen, and you can see why. 10% off in the store, all the way up to 11:59 p.m. tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It's very much appreciated. Special thanks to Zay behind the scenes here at Adafruit. And we'll see everybody next week. We're hosting Show and Tell next week. Ask an Engineer next week. We have lots of videos we're doing. There's a lot ahead. Chips are starting to come back in stock, so we'll see how things go. Thanks for hanging in there for the last couple years of all this nonsense.
We'll try to keep doing chip shortage. There's always going to be something. Yeah. But I don't feel bad about doing the same chips over and over
again.
Yeah.
But you know, some of the vendors that are out there have started to reach out to us, and they're like, oh yeah, like things are starting to come back. We'll let you know more. So, you know, we'll see.
Okay.
This has been an Adafruit production.
Beep, bop,
Here
beep, beep,
is your
bop,
moment of Zener.
Bop, beep, bop, bop.
Bye, everybody.
Zeners.